You're looking at beautiful Mount Rainier, just east of Tacoma, Washington here. Just part of the beautiful Pacific Northwest, and we're going to be bringing you game number 8 of the 5th World Softball Fast Pitch Championships just shortly, coming from Cheney Stadium here in Tacoma, Washington. And game number 8 will feature two excellent ball clubs, the undefeated United States of America against a very, very tough New Zealand team, with the winner advancing into the championship game against Canada. This game is being brought to you by Budweiser Beer. For all you do, this Bud's for you. Hello everyone, I'm Wes Parker along with Irv Brown here. We're in Tacoma, Washington, where it is slightly overcast, but a very nice day for baseball, about 65, 70 degrees. Two teams just about ready to get underway. And Irv, this is going to be a classic match. They played once before with the USA emerging on top, but today New Zealand is pitching their best pitcher, Mr. Herlihy.
Mr. Herlihy beat him 7 out of 10 times last year when they competed in the same league. The United States feels that they can handle this guy, and of course New Zealand is really on a roll now. They feel that they've peaked under him. It's going to be a great ball game. They predicted Canada, New Zealand, and the United States would be the top 3 teams. Canada already in the finals. One of these teams will be in the finals. We're going to have a great one, Wes.
And the USA with a fairly pitching-rich ball club, pretty deep in pitching. They've got Darcy going today, and we've heard a lot about him, how good he is.
Darcy is supposed to throw the ball well. There could be a last-minute change. They might go with Garrison, but irregardless, both are very, very capable. It should just be an excellent go. One break could win it all.
Well, as you said, New Zealand, the United States, and Canada are the 3 top teams. The winner of this game, as we said, will advance on to play Canada in the championship game. This should be a very excellent ball game. We'll be right back with it after this word. Wes Parker and Irv Brown here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington for game number 8 of the World Fast Pitch Softball Championships. And the winner of this game, as we mentioned before, goes on to the final round against Canada to play for the championship of the world. So it's a big one. The USA undefeated. New Zealand has lost twice, but the game they lost to the United States, they did not have this man out on the mound, 31-year-old Kevin Herlihy, who is considered to be the best right-handed pitcher in the world, and he is on the mound today for New Zealand. So the USA will have their work cut out for them. It'll be Rod Johnson leading off. Herlihy won a big game last night, or in the previous game that New Zealand played, to put New Zealand into this game against the USA. He went 8 innings then, so he is coming off of a lot of work, and Irv will have to see what kind of stuff he has. It's kind of hard for these pitchers to come back, but they seem to be able to do it.
Well, you know, Wes, I was talking to one of the representatives from New Zealand. I asked him that same question. He looked at me like I was nuts. He says, come back. He could throw twice in one day, so apparently it doesn't bother this big horse. He really turns it loose. He's got the good rise, and of course he'll throw the change if you get out on that front foot.
Well, there's a fastball outside. Most of the softball pitchers feature 2 primary pitches, one the fastball that rises and the other the fastball that sinks. Herlihy, the last time we saw him pitch, through all kinds of risers, just about 95% rise balls. They can also throw some curves, balls that will break up and into a left-handed hitter, such as Rod Johnson is, and they will change speeds. The ball comes in very close to 100 miles per hour, and they'll change it down to about 50, 60 miles per hour. It's just a tremendous contrast. Really keeps the hitters off balance.
And if you're a windmiller, as Herlihy is, and you've got a change, that's really a lethal weapon.
Good smoking fastball up and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes to Rod Johnson, leading off for the USA here in the top of the 1st inning. The USA, the visiting team, decided by a coin flip about a half an hour before the game started. Those bats are aluminum that you see Johnson has in his hands there. They're only allowed to be 34 inches in length. They cannot weigh more than 38 ounces, all part of the international softball rules. Herlihy working to Nuns as catcher. Just outside. Herlihy, a real strikeout artist. Has been around for quite a while.
And like all the good softball pitchers, Wes, he'll hit his pant leg except on the fastball to give the ball more spin. These guys have it down to a science. The sport is dominated by pitching. You'll see as many as 17, 18 strikeouts in a regulation game. They really throw the ball.
I'll tell you what he's doing that I didn't see him do the last time he pitched. He's taking a lot more time. Very deliberate today. Usually these softball pitchers work quickly. Oh, he got him on a good rising fastball. Johnson, one of the best USA hitters, especially with men on base, goes down on strikes.
Well, the rise, as we mentioned, that is the key for Hurley. He will throw the drop. He's got the change.
All right, here's Barry Cashin. The bearded Gary Cashin hitting second for the USA, the designated hitter. You see his average there for this series.
Barry's 36 years old. I beg your pardon, he's 32, Wes. And of course, we've got a lot of guys up close to 40. You have some youngsters. It's a nice blend. Boy, I tell you what, Hurley, he threw that one. We've mentioned this before, Wes. The Japanese delegation has a jugs gun, and they've timed some of the pitchers here. They got Hurley close to 120 miles an hour, and I'll tell you what, that's fairly throwing.
Well, you'll see the hitters, they usually choke up, try and take a short chopping swing at the ball. It's just coming in too fast for them to really let it go and take a full cut. The Bahamas team was full of players who had really baseball cuts at the ball, and they were striking out a lot. Now, most of these players on New Zealand and the USA will take that shorter stroke. Hitting out of an open stance. That was the sinker. Swung over the top of it.
A good example of what you just mentioned, Wes, hitting a softball, of course, it's a quick downward swing. It's like swinging an axe. And you mentioned the Bahamas, they really did overswing, and as a result, they're eliminated. And you can't hit a good pitcher like a Hurley if you really overswing. You'll handle the meat, but not a guy like this. This guy knows how to pitch. He's got excellent control. He stays ahead of the hitter, and he's got Cashin down 1 and 2.
Got him. Good sinker. You'll notice the catcher for New Zealand and quite a number of the other catchers in this tournament do not wear a chest protector. Some of them don't even wear knee guards. They just figure they aren't going to take too many shots off of their body with the ball either rising or sinking as much as 12 to 15 inches. Good start for Kevin Hurley here in a big game as he struck out the first 2 USA hitters. Here is Bruce Miller. He's the right fielder, .333 batting average in this tournament.
He's got some power, Wes. He definitely can hit one out of here.
Right back to the pitcher, and he underhands to the first baseman for the out. So for Kevin Hurley, an easy top of the first inning as the USA goes 1-2-3, and at the end of a half an inning, the score. The USA nothing, and New Zealand coming up. Well, you know, what's interesting about Hurley to me, Irv, is that he pitched very well against the USA team last year. He pitched for a Saginaw team in 1979. Was 7-3 against this same USA team, which is out of Midland, Michigan. That's not too far from Detroit, about 100 miles away, and did very well against them. He was held out yesterday because the New Zealand coach pretty much felt that New Zealand would be in the Final Four without his services, and they wanted to save him for this big game against the USA, who he is 7-3 against.
Well, I think the strategy really is correct. It is done a little differently. They could afford to lose in one of those earlier games. It's on the line now. The winner of this ball game is going to play Canada for all of it. So New Zealand knows what they're doing. And, you know, Wes, they have got a lot of people who have followed this ball club to Tacoma, Washington. They are really wired up. They love Hurley. They've got a special cheer for him. They've got a special song. And I tell you, the enthusiasm here for me has really been something. This town has just jumped all over this tournament. The attendance has been tremendous, and the people following it have really gotten involved.
Attendance is at an all-time high. It started on July 11th, and they're up over 65,000 already for this tournament. This is a minor league ballpark here, AAA park in the Coast League. The Tacoma team plays here, hardball, and they're on the road right now, so it's been turned over to the softball players, and they're really putting on a show. Ground ball down to second base. That's Peter Hartley, the New Zealand hitter, and he is thrown out. So 1 pitch from Chuck Darcy and 1 out for New Zealand.
Listen, this Darcy, we've been talking a lot about Hurley. Darcy's no guy named Joe. He can throw the ball. He's got all the pitches. I like his change. I don't know how much he'll go to it today, but once again, Wes, not to be a broken record, but if a windmiller has got a decent change, it is just lethal. It's so hard to follow.
Well, remember, these fellows are all amateurs out there. Most of them, in fact, almost all of them have jobs on the side. They take time off from their work to come out here and become a part of this tournament. Traveling from all parts of the country. Darcy throwing hard, good hard sinker, as you see. This tournament began with 14 teams. It is now down to 4. Actually 3 with Canada's victory today over the Bahamas. They are in the finals. And there's the changeup.
That is a tough pitch, I'll tell you. That windmill gets going, and if you keep that motion constant. We saw a young guy from the Bahamas by the name of Johnson, one of the best athletes I have ever seen. And the guy threw a no-hitter, Wes. He was perfect for 7 innings. His ball club, it took him 9 to win it, and he had the best change you'll ever see in softball.
Fly ball to the outfield. Center fielder Cotter coming on, and he puts it away. So Chuck Darcy is rolling along. He gets the first 2 hitters. That was Wayne Nichols, the third baseman who just flew out. And here is John Lowes. John Lowes, a designated hitter for New Zealand.
Got a lot of power, Wes. This guy really can go downtown on you.
Had a real nice chat with John yesterday, or in a previous game that New Zealand had played, and what a pleasant young man he is. Of course, all the New Zealanders speak with that nice British accent, very civilized, cultured fellas. He chops this one foul. And he was telling me that they really are true amateurs, Irv. They are not paid. The country does help them to, as far as paying their expenses from New Zealand to this country to play in the tournament. But when it comes to buying their uniforms, bats, and things of that nature, they have to put up the money themselves, as well as paying $40 to become a member of the Softball Association in their country. There's a shot down to short. And Rogers throws him out. So 1, 2, 3 for New Zealand here in the bottom of the first inning, and at the end of 1 complete, it is the USA nothing and New Zealand nothing. Let's have a look here at Cheney Stadium in Tacoma, Washington. As we mentioned before, it's a AAA baseball park. Tacoma is a farm club with the Cleveland Indians, but they have shortened it up considerably for the softball tournament. They put a temporary fence out there in the outfield. As you can see, it's 250 feet all the way around from foul line to foul line. They've shortened the pitcher's mound, flattened it out. In softball, the pitcher's mound is flat. The base paths, of course, are shorter. And this is a game of real speed compared to baseball. They also, because of a softball rule as to the distance of the backstop behind home plate, have had to build an artificial one here, or a temporary one, which resides about 25 feet behind the catcher. And here is Jeff Peck, the cleanup hitter for the United States. Jeff Peck, a Michigan boy, went to Eastern Michigan College. He was an All-American baseball player there in the NAIA. His team won the NAIA tournament one year, and then he was signed by the Phillies. Played a couple of years of minor league baseball for the Philadelphia Phillies before giving it up and turning to fast pitch softball.
Wes, he's got the good-looking stance. He's got that back foot at 90. He'll have his front foot at 45, and it keeps the hands around the letters, which you really like to see a guy start those hands around the letters. A lot of people will start them up higher or low, and then you've got to make an adjustment. And, this guy has got good hitting fundamentals. 2 balls, no strikes to him. Early he misses the outside corner again, so he goes 3-0. Early, an excellent pitcher, as we mentioned to you before, considered by many, many people for years to have been the best right-handed softball pitcher in the world. 31 years old now, trying to get his club into the finals. And he's way high with that one, so a walk to Jeff Peck, and walks are very important in slow-pitch softball. So many games are decided by low scores of 1-0, 2-1. Anytime you get a base runner,
it's significant. Now, what they usually do in a situation like this is try to bunt the runner over. You'll notice the first and third baseman are playing in very, very shallow. They do anyway, but in a bunt situation, they come even closer, about halfway between their bags and the plate. And they'll try to get that force out at second base to keep the runner from getting into scoring position.
Well, everything is to get the runner to second in softball. And Wes, honestly, we've seen 90% of the situations, in this situation, I should say, where they will lay it down.
I think we can look for it here. Now, sometimes the USA will hit and run on the first pitch, so keep that in mind, too. Look how close those infielders are. Well, that's 5 balls in a row from Kevin Herlihy. He's having trouble finding the plate. Remember, in a previous game, he pitched 8 innings and has already pitched quite a lot in this tournament. It's possible that he might be somewhat tired, but usually these pitchers can handle that. Back down to the third baseman, and he's going to go to first, so the sacrifice works. Russ Van Zorn gets the runner over.
Van Zorn really did his job. To be a good bunter, if you just catch the ball, we'll take another look at Van Zorn's techniques. It's a little more difficult with aluminum rather than wood because it's a little harder, whereas wood, you can kind of drop it. You catch the ball, you trigger finger the trademark, and as you see the result, we've got a runner at second base with Jimmy Wright coming to the dish.
Van Zorn's a good all-around ball player. Yesterday, we saw him hit a home run against the same New Zealand club to help the USA win that game 2-0, and today he sacrificed bunts. Here's Jimmy Wright. That ball misses off the outside corner. The United States undefeated in this tournament. Canada also undefeated, but in a different bracket. Canada has won their semifinal game, so they are in the finals, have not lost. The United States, by winning today, will meet Canada, or would meet Canada in a battle of unbeaten ball clubs.
Jim Wright's 29 years old, Wes. Really can play anywhere. His regular position is first base, but he can fill in and do a lot of things for you. He's been a member of this McCardle team for 9 years, so he does know the territory.
Interesting thing about Jim Wright being 29, he's the only 20-year-old on the club. Everyone else is in their 30s. USA with one of the oldest clubs in this tournament. Most of the clubs have players in their 20s, about half in their 20s, half in their 30s. 2 balls, 1 strike, 1 out. The USA with a runner at second base, no score, and we're in the top of the second inning. It's the USA versus New Zealand.
Jimmy works for McCardle, the sponsor back there. He sells cars for him, so I imagine he could probably get off and run around the country a little bit since he's representing them.
Well, all these fellows have jobs on the side, and it's quite a change from professional sports. This ball has popped up. Good rise. The third baseman coming down the line, and that is Nichols who makes the catch.
That's the way to make the play. Nichols called the catcher Nuns off. Nuns has got to get rid of a mask, and he's got to run. He could run on his heels so that the ball bounces. The first and third baseman should take all balls and just call the catcher off, and that's exactly what Wayne Nichols did.
Big out for Kevin Herlihy in New Zealand. The USA still with a runner out at second. This is Don Van Dusen. 1 for 5 in the tournament. Getting a start today out at shortstop. And now we have a little conference out on the mound as to how they may want to pitch Van Dusen. They haven't seen him too much. He's only been up 5 times. So the catcher and pitcher, Nuns and Herlihy, getting together to decide just exactly how they're going to work this man. USA with a runner out at second. A big run. Anytime you score in this game, it's a big run. Fastball up high. The USA was in a bracket with the Bahamas, Japan, Guam, the Dominican Republic, the Virgin Islands, and South Africa, and battled their way to an undefeated final standings in their group, which is Group A. All the other clubs are either on their way home or going on a little tour or having a little rest here in this country. The USA still in it, out of their bracket. Gets off the catcher's glove, and the runner advances to third base.
You know, that time Herlihy just overpowered his catcher Nuns, and looked to me like a pass ball. We'll wait for the ruling, but definitely got a glove on it. So Peck's at third now, and Dusen normally gets the bat on the ball.
All right, they're checking the count. Scoreboard says 1-1, but apparently the umpire is signaling 2 balls, no strikes. So let's see. Now this is that may be a big play, Irv, for the runner to be able to get over to third base, because now he could score on any kind of an infield base hit.
Well, that's right. Of course, you've always got the danger of what we just saw, the pass ball, Wes. There's just so many more ways than you can score at third base rather than the second.
Boy, he's thinking bunt too, and you can see the infielders coming in to defend against it.
Well, that Peck did a good job as a base runner that time, Wes. He leads off in foul territory. That's not correct. You can't lead off. He makes his break in foul territory. Comes back in fair territory because the shortstop, Rogers, was trying to sneak over, and he really made it difficult.
Count now is 1 ball, 2 strikes. But we'll have to check that. There are 2 outs with a runner at third, top of the second. Ball low and outside. The first baseman plays in so far that very often he has trouble getting back to cover his bag in the event there is a ground ball hit to an infielder. So the second baseman will slide over and quite frequently take a throw, especially if the ball is hit to the first baseman. The second baseman has to get back there to take that throw. Kevin Herlihy working slowly, trying to get out of a jam here. Chopper down to short. They got to hurry, and they get him. So nice pitching by Herlihy after a leadoff walk. The USA has turned away. No hits, no runs, no errors. They leave 1, and at the end of an inning and a half, it is the USA nothing, New Zealand nothing.
Wes, we've got some action coming your way over ESPN. We've talked a great deal about football, and we're going to cover football up in Canada, among other things. A lot of familiar names: Terry Metcalf, Tom Cousineau, that was the linebacker who would not take the Buffalo Bills money, instead went up to Canada. Fred Biletnikoff, for many years an excellent wideout for the Oakland Raiders, and Bruce Clark. Well, they'll all be involved. Canadian football on ESPN Tuesday and Saturday evenings. You want to be sure and join us.
Well, they play a wide open brand of football up there too, don't they?
They really do. I like, there's so many people in motion, and I'll tell you what's really a thrill a minute. How would you like to be the guy catching the punts and running them back where it's only cowards block, and they don't let you block up there? It's really an interesting situation.
Almost reminds me of the old American Football League in its inception days, when you had such high-scoring games, you know, 45 to 37 games of that type. It's very exciting football.
Listen, you talk about that. Denver's my home. We used to watch the Broncos when they first organized. Frank Trafucci used to draw them up in the ground. Who wants to catch a pass? He'd say. He'd draw a play up. Somebody go out and get it, and it was fun.
Here's Jimmy Carty starting things off for New Zealand here in the bottom of the second inning with that astonishing batting average, hitting in the 500s, and he lines a base hit into left field, left center. Center fielder over to cut it off. That's Van Zorn with a nice play.
Van Zorn did have an excellent play. You talk about somebody hustling the ball back in, because in softball that is a must. But Cotter has just been something in this tournament. He was first chosen as a utility player for New Zealand. He can play both right and left. He's played first base, and boy, he has got a quick bat, Wes.
Well, he could set a record here, the highest batting average in the history of the World Softball Tournaments, which has been held, well, this is the 5th time, is over 500, and he's somewhat close to that now. The Japanese player went 10 for 18 in this tournament to set the record. So he's got a shot at breaking that if he could keep it going today and in the final game. All right. New Zealand with a runner on, and we'll look for the bunt here from John Joyce. He's the second baseman.
I like this guy. I like him particularly in the field. He'll turn it over. Just gives you the good hands. I'm sure he'll be bunting here, Wes. Both these teams are very fundamentally sound, and I got to believe he'll move the runner along.
Joyce, 26 years old. He's a computer programmer when he's not playing fast pitch softball. 2 balls, no strikes to him.
He has played some shortstop. Of course, they feel they're stronger with Paul Rogers as a shortstop, but it's just an excellent keystone. Very formidable ball club.
There's a bunt down to the first baseman. He'll have to go to first with it. Second baseman covering.
Wes, of course, you played for years with the Dodgers at first base, and just that little move there for a youngster looking in. The first baseman, right came down, And he made sure that when he fielded the ball, he threw on the inside of the diamond because his second baseman, Starling, was on the inside of the diamond. So many times you see the runner horn as people throw across him. And just that little fundamental, I know you worked on that over and over in spring training.
Of course, if that runner is running inside the baseline and the throw hits him, then the runner is out. So he has to be careful of that, too. Jamie Campbell's the hitter. He's the right fielder. He's got a chance to put New Zealand ahead. There's a good off-speed pitch, but a little bit low for a ball.
This Campbell's a fierce-looking guy. He's 26 years old. He can swing the bat. He's been their top home run hitter, and he's an excellent fielder, too, but he is a tough-looking monkey.
Jimmy Cotter, the runner at second. There's a good rising fastball just in the strike zone. Remember, the strike zone in softball is up at the shoulders, not the armpit, so it's a little bit higher than what you baseball fans might be used to.
You know, in West, you talk about that. We've seen so many people in this tournament go for the rise out of the zone because it starts out in the zone, and we just haven't seen many people have much success handling the pitch.
Off-speed pitch up high, 2 balls and a strike. The speed of fast-pitch softball is what impresses me. I guess it's very much like paddle tennis compared to regular tennis. It's very, very fast ball game, played at much closer distances. This ball is popped up. The shortstop is going back. That's Van Dusen. The left fielder calls him off. Johnson makes the catch for the second out. That's a clutch out for Darcy. And now New Zealand with 2 outs will send up Dennis Chain.
Johnson did his job. The infielder keeps going back until the outfielder calls him off, and it's so much easier when you're on the run coming in instead of backpedaling. And Rod Johnson, probably with the best speed on the American team, makes the play easily.
All right, here's Chain, the hitter, batting in the 7th spot for New Zealand. He's their left fielder. Chain, 33 years old. He is a bank officer when he's not playing softball. Really something, isn't it? All these guys taking time off to fly all the way over here from New Zealand and play in this tournament.
That's right. I want to talk to that banker. See if we can get something going here.
Well, I talked to their players, and they get about 5 weeks off. They've been traveling around the United States for 3 weeks getting ready for this tournament, and they get full pay. We've got some very understanding employers.
I would say
so. Boy, there was a great changeup by Chuck Darcy. You usually don't start a hitter off with a changeup. Got it right in at the knees for a strike. We've got no score. We're in the bottom of the 2nd inning. The USA versus New Zealand. This is a semifinal game, the winner advancing to the finals. Canada is already in. Good rising fastball. He swung right under it. I'll tell you something else, sir. The winner of this ball game is going to have their hands full with Canada. Canada is a very pitching deep, strong, well-schooled ball club.
Another look at the rise. Once again, he'll hit his pant leg, Wes, so that he really gets a little more on it. Look at that thing go up. It isn't even quite fair.
Boy, I bet he swung under that pitch by 4 inches.
And we've talked about this before. You know, the difference in your training as a baseball hitter, you're trained that everything breaks down and away from you, or the ball will shoot inside, you know, the sinker, the scroogey. And now all of a sudden, with the exception of the few submariners you face, you see a softballer and the ball is going up.
Real adjustment for your eyes. Fouls this one off. Another good rising pitch. The thing is, if you're looking for the rise and you get the sinker, you're going to swing over it by about 4 inches. And if you're looking for the sinker and get the rise, you swing under it by about 4 inches.
You made an interesting comment to me the other day about the toughest pitch for you was the knuckleballers, the Phil Necros that just drive you crazy, because if the wind is right, I got to believe a guy like Necro can just do anything he wants to.
He could to me. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Sinker fouled away. He just got a piece of that.
Trouble with a guy like Necro, no experience at all, just hasn't been around.
Well, you saw Dennis Chain with just a real short chopping stroke. He's really just trying to make contact here, not strike out, put the ball in play.
That's the drop now. Boy, I'll tell you what, and that's why they call it a drop. You just have the spin going the opposite way. It's all in how you cock the wrist, and it just drops off the table. To me, that's much easier to follow, though, than the rise.
Pitcher's only 46 feet away. About 25 years ago, the distance was 40 feet. They cut it back to 43 to give the hitters more of a chance. Now it's 46, but the pitchers still pretty much dominate this game. A lot of strikeouts. Changeup grounded down to short. The throw to first, and they get him. Boy, had him way out on his front foot.